Good afternoon. Change it up there. Good afternoon. We begin our afternoon with Bruce Pearl, the head men's basketball coach at Auburn University. Bruce is beginning his 17th season as a head coach in the Southeastern Conference and his 11th at Auburn University. The total number of years, 17, is the longest tenure among all of our men's basketball coaches in the league. And I think 11 years at one university is also at the top of that 10-year ranking. He's a bit of a personality, you've probably noticed. One of the great conversations I've had is with Jay Goose, a former president at Auburn. One time in a one-on-one, I think it's okay to say this, Jay's retired now, just spoke of Bruce's willingness to impact the campus and the community and the alumni base. Anything that was asked, any opportunity was provided, he took to build into the lives of people and build into the community at Auburn. He's passionate about his work. He's passionate about his work on a charitable basis. Just a couple of notes. The Bruce Pearl Family Foundation has raised more than $1.3 million to help Alabama residents offset the costs of fighting cancer. Another charity, he's raised over $2.5 million for charities serving underprivileged children. He's very active as a leader in many organizations around Jewish causes, including the U.S. Israel Education Association, the Jewish Coaches Association, and Athletes for Israel. When he's not coaching, he will occasionally allow me to interrupt his free time with a conversation, a phone call, which takes him away from his wife, Brandy, 4 children, and 4 grandchildren. Introducing head men's basketball coach from Auburn University, Bruce Pearl.
War Eagle. Thank you, Commissioner Sankey. I feel like I just got here, and I'm already the KG veteran. There are also many conversations that I'll remember having with Commissioner Sankey. And some of those conversations had something to do with the privilege of being able to coach in the SEC, with the confidence that Commissioner Slive put in me in allowing me to return back to the SEC after I lost my job at Tennessee. And so I do have a level of responsibility to sort of hold up my end for the league with our success and how we try to run our program. And so I'm grateful to be a part of this league. I can tell you that it has never been better. The commitment across the board, the quality of the coaches, the passion of our fan bases. I remember being in a league at a time where you could go on the road and there are 3 or 4 places in the league where the gym was half empty. And now almost every game is sold out. And that's so good for the league. And so I'm very pleased to be a part of it.
All right, we'll take your questions. If you'll raise your hand, and we'll get one of the remote mics to you. Please remember to identify yourself and the outlet that you represent when you ask your question. Let's start right on the front row on the right.
Ben Roberts, Lexington Herald-Leader. Bruce, Coach Cal has kind of become synonymous with Kentucky basketball these last 15 years. How do you foresee that changing with Mark Pope? What do you know about Pope, and what do you think about his success moving forward?
Well, Ben, I think there's 2 things that jump out at me. One, how much better is the league with John Calipari at Arkansas and now Coach Pope at Kentucky? I can tell you from watching his BYU teams, he's got a brilliant offensive mind. That doesn't mean he's not a good defensive coach, but he is next step European, the latest and the greatest offensive schemes that are out there right now. Obviously, was a great player, loved Kentucky. And from what I've experienced so far and what I've known about him, he's a really quality person, like the foundation of who he is and who he wants to be and how he wants to lead. I think Kentucky got themselves a great coach, a great person, and somebody that understands the history and the responsibility of leading that program.
Next question, standing up on the right.
Hey Bruce, Ryan Hennessy, WVTM 13, NBC in Birmingham. I feel like we ask you this every year, but it becomes more and more of a thing. This state is so healthy in basketball. You guys win the SEC. Now another year, Alabama makes a run to the Final Four. What is the state growth every year in basketball? What can you say to that?
Well, I think the coaches at Alabama, the coaches at Auburn also have taken on that little responsibility. We have enjoyed living in the shadows of some of the great football programs that we've had over the years. But rather than focusing on that, we've embraced that and recognizing that if we can do it in football and we can do it in baseball and golf and women's sports, you know, we are an everything conference. It just means more. The second best conference in America isn't even close to the SEC in all sports. Men's basketball wasn't there on a consistent basis, and so I'm proud of both Auburn and Alabama for representing the state of Alabama and playing, you know, quality basketball. And we hope that as we start this season, we can live up to those expectations.
Let's go to the far right on the way back, last row.
Hey, Bruce, when you look at your non-conference schedule, I think I saw yesterday 4 teams in the Ken Pop top 10. Their toughest non-conference game, Houston, Purdue, Iowa State, and Duke. Just what does it mean to have Auburn to that point where you're playing that kind of non-conference schedule? Did you think when you got to Auburn, 10 years ago, that you'd be at this point?
Well, 2 things jump out at me. Number one, you better be careful what you wish for. And we've got all that we can handle for sure. But it's what we built. It's what we worked. It's easier to get someplace than it is to stay someplace. So to try to stay competitive at Auburn has been a great challenge. And we've managed to win 4 championships in the last 7 years, 2 regular season and 2 tournament with 4 different teams. Sometimes you got to act like you belong. And you can't always control the recruiting, you can't control the transfer portal, you can't control a lot of things that are happening, but you can control who you schedule. And just the fact that Kelvin Sampson thought enough of Auburn's basketball program to want to get involved in that neutral game, or that Matt Painter, coming off a national championship game, thought that bringing Auburn back to Indianapolis in a year was going to be a game that they could, draw, so on and so forth. It's what we've worked for, and I just think from a standpoint of our players, I think our players deserve the opportunity to play against the best and have that great challenge. Adversity doesn't always build character, but adversity will reveal character. We're going to have some adversity. We're going to lose some games in non-conference, perhaps more than we have in the past, just because of the strength of the schedule. How do we handle that? How do we bounce back? What do we learn? And obviously, getting better, throughout the season. So. And then also, if you look at the SEC-ACC matchup, the fact that Alabama and Auburn are both going to North Carolina and Duke, and a lot of responsibility in those 2 matchups, because those are going to be 2 of the hardest games in this matchup. And so I will wear the responsibility of trying to uphold our end, knowing the challenge of going to Duke.
Next question now in the front row. John, did you have a question? Yeah.
Coach John Zane with Associated Press. Obviously, everybody talks about all the change in college basketball, but you got Janai Broome and Auburn both benefited. He got an extra year. He could make some money without having to turn pro, maybe before he was ready, maybe before he wanted to leave. How mutually beneficial was that situation for you?
Well, I think when you talk to our guys about the NIL situation, our guys are truly grateful. They're able to do things for themselves and for their families and for their communities that they never dreamed of doing while they were still in college. And in this time of a free market economy and this opportunity, obviously, this is what the market says that these guys are worth. And I can just tell you that our players are grateful. They really are. So regarding Janai, he had an opportunity to probably go somewhere in the second round, maybe late second round, and be involved in a 2-way contract and fight his way up to the big club, so on and so forth. And certainly, oftentimes, you make that jump when you're younger because the opportunity to at least get a decent contract and get started. Well, now the NIL can put him on an equal playing field with that early NBA stuff. and he can finish his degree. How about this? Auburn basketball has graduated 40 student athletes in the last 10 years. Auburn basketball has graduated 32 African-American men in men's basketball in the last 10 years. So when the commissioner introduces me and talks about the tenure at Auburn, okay, I'm so proud of that fact. Part of it, our players love Auburn. They want to be Auburn men. They want to stay and finish their degrees if they can. And if there's one thing that I'm concerned about with the transfer portal is every time somebody transfers, they don't always transfer all those units when they transfer. And we're not talking near enough about graduation rates. Now, I'm glad there's freedom of movement, but I'm not for transfers every single year. I think it teaches the kids to flee, not fight. And I don't think and the numbers will speak to themselves. We're not graduating near as many of the student athletes as we used to graduate.
Okay, question standing in the way back.
Hi, Coach. Brianna Jones, WTVY in Dothan, Alabama. Factor in what you just said about the transfer portal, your tough schedule. You bring a heap of knowledge when it comes to basketball IQ, but do you personally have to change the way you coach now when you think about everything you just mentioned up in one?
That's such a great question. I'm too old to change the way I'm going to coach. And I think that young people still want to be held accountable. They still want to be disciplined. They want to be challenged. I'll tell you what they don't want to be. They don't want to be lied to. I'm telling you, if you can tell them the truth in the recruiting process, we may not always agree on everything, but I think student athletes will be loyal. But sometimes in recruiting, we tell them things that aren't true to get them, and then they get there, it's not what they thought it was going to be, and that happens sometimes. But I don't think I'm going to change. I want coaches and I want players that want to play for me. On average, in the Power 5 conferences over the last 5 years, about 4 kids are transferring per year in the Power 5. That's way too many. And at Auburn, we're about 2. And so we're far less than the Power 5, but it's too many for me. I want to bring these guys in. I'd love to try to keep them all. And I won't change my coaching, but I will have to adjust to the rules and recruit accordingly.
Okay, second row on the left, and then we'll go to the next to last row on the far back left.
Richmond Weaver, Fox Sports Upstate, Greenville, South Carolina. Coach, why are you so inviting to young head coaches and assistant coaches that might be seeking advice from you?
Say that again, ask the question.
Yeah, why are you so inviting to some of the young head coaches or assistant coaches when they come seek advice from you?
You know me to be inviting, do you? I've heard a lot of things about me. That's not necessarily one of them. Well, I remember, back when I was, obviously in their shoes, and it's funny because for those of us that are, all right, I'm 64, okay? I can remember myself a lot longer being a younger man and a younger coach than I can remember myself in the last 10 years. Everybody kind of remembers me in the last 10 years or so. And so I still feel like a young coach. I still feel like I'm new to the SEC, when I know it's sort of I'm clearly on the back nine. I'm a teacher. This is what we do. And so I'm always happy to share with all coaches things about our profession and things about teaching and the responsibilities that we have educating young people and the differences that we absolutely can make in people's lives and players' lives, for better or for worse. And so when I screw up, and I've screwed up, it's very, very embarrassing, and I let a lot of people down. That there's a responsibility. At the same time, I'll do everything I can to try to do positive things.
Okay, question far back on the left, and then we're going to come back to the front standing on the left.
Justin Ferguson, Auburn Observer. Bruce, Denver here today. Can you talk about his transition to being more of a combo guard, playing the 1 for you, how much you've seen him kind of embrace that role this season?
Well, we talked about it in the spring. It was something that he wanted to do. It was something that I thought would be good for him and for us. Just technically speaking, it's easy to get the quarterback the ball. The quarterback has the ball. He then either has to hand it off or he has to throw it down the field. He has to do something with it to get it to one of his playmakers. And so when you play point guard, the ball is in your hands. I don't have to do anything to get him the ball. And I think Denver makes good decisions with the ball. He can score. He can get downhill. He can make tough twos. He's unselfish. And I think it's really good for us, and I think it's going to be good for his future development. I would venture to say that the most challenging thing on the basketball court is playing point guard and another position. That's really challenging. You can play center and power forward. You can play on the wings, but the responsibility of playing, I still want him to be aggressive. Well, I still want him to lead the team. And I think Denver's had probably as good a off-season as any of my returning players, and I think he'll be able to handle some of those responsibilities at point guard. J.P. Pegues will also play the position. Todd Pettifor is going to play some of the position. And we're going to have a brand new point guard, and we're going to have about 75% of Auburn's backcourt play at 1 and 2 are new players, with Miles Kelly also from Georgia Tech coming in.
Okay, question far left standing, and then we're going to come to the third row on the right.
Bruce, JoeGoodmanAL.com. You're one of the great college basketball coaches of all time. Now, that also means that you've been around a while. With NIL and the way some other factors are also involved, what's it like to be in this league where Kentucky is 8th in the SEC?
Well, I appreciate it. I don't pay that much attention, to that. I do think it speaks to the depth and breadth and the quality of our league. And I told the guys after a difficult practice the other day, so you want the good news? You guys want the good news? Auburn basketball could be one of the top 30 programs in the country this year. We could also finish 10th in this league, especially if we keep practicing like that. And so, so therefore, what do you got to do? You got to bring it every night. You got to beat everybody on the schedule that you're supposed to beat. And you still got to pick a couple off that you're not. And I would imagine that Alabama's pretty good. I know they're picked 1, and I think they're awfully good. And they deserve to be picked 1, I think. But I think the league's going to probably beat each other up pretty good. And so handling losses, moving on, getting to the next play, getting to the next game is going to be really, really important. The league's never been stronger.
All right.
James Fletcher from On3. Coach, I just wanted to ask you, over the last few years, you've had quite a few transfers who come in and not only make an impact, but return for a second season in the program and beyond that even. So how important is it when you are able to land a transfer who has multiple years of eligibility to get him back in your system where now he can become a leader after being that initial transfer guy to plug in to a position of need?
Well, that's part of the coaching philosophy that I hope doesn't change with NIL and transfer portal, is that oftentimes a second season can really bring out the best, I think, in a student athlete. They've gone through the experience, they've had it, they've had the good, the bad, and the ugly. It's new, and when the season is over, they get to kind of break down what they did well and what they needed to get better. They get the off season, and then the second season they're just so much more comfortable in that situation. So that's again part of the reason why I don't like the one year, transfer situation. And I think one of the advantages that I have at Auburn is that our kids like it. They like it at Auburn. That's one of the reasons why we've graduated so many players, and the kids want to stay there and finish their degree. They love the way they're treated. They love playing in sellout crowds every single night at Neville Arena. And we hope we can continue to not have to continue to re-recruit an entire roster every year.
We got time for one more question. Let's take it right in the middle on the front row.
Auburn, WCZN Radio, Huntsville, Alabama. Coach, we're very proud in the Rocket City of the relationship that we've got with Auburn basketball. Denver Jones has had a great run, but we wanted to ask you about Chaney Johnson and how much he's improved. And I know he learned under Jalen Williams, one of your favorite players, but how much better can he be this year? And we hear he's 6'9" now.
Well, yeah, I don't know how tall he is, but I know for his size, he's a terrific athlete. Now, he plays the 4 spot, and I don't know if you guys want to do the research on this, but I think there are so many great 4-men or that position in our league. I think every night he's going to be going up against a great player at the 4 spot. And a reminder, a year ago, Chaney was playing Division II basketball at North Alabama. He came in last year, got his feet wet, absolutely looked like he belonged. Just need more of him. Just need a little bit more aggressiveness on both the offensive and defensive end. No, he's going to be a terrific contributor. I would look at Auburn being very similar to a year ago. Our greatest strength is going to be our depth. We're going to play 10 guys double-digit minutes, and when we go to our bench, we're not going to drop off. And who and what and when and how is going to be something that's going to be a work in progress throughout the season.
Thank you, Coach Burrell.
Thank you.